Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon for further notifications.
This video is available in Tamil, English and Hindi.
Hello dear viewers, good day to you. Happy to see you back to our channel Christian Center. Today we shall see on the childhood of Mother Mary. Please watch the video till the end, as this is also a spiritual activity.
Mary's mother was Anne and father Joachim. Anna's father Eliud was the tribe of Levi. Her mother Ismaria was of the tribe of Benjamin. Anne was born at Bethlehem, but afterwards her parents moved to Sepphoris, 4 hours from Bethlehem, where they had a house and land. They also owned land in the beautiful valley of Zebulun, 1.5 hours from Sepphoris and 3 hours from Nazareth. Anne's parents were rich. It is in Zebulun that Anne married Joachim. Anne was 19 years old at the time of marriage. Joachim and Anne, after marriage, lived with Eliud, Anne's father, for 7 years. Their parents were well-to-do. They had many flocks and herds, beautiful carpets and household things, and many manservants and maidservants. They were very pious, devout, charitable, simple, and upright. They often divided their herds and everything else into 3 parts and gave 1/3 of the beasts to the temple. The second part they gave to the poor or relations. The remainder, which was generally the worst, they kept for themselves. They lived very frugally and gave to all who asked. Giving brings plenty. He who gives receives twice in return, and their third portion always increased, and soon everything was in such abundance again that they were able to make the 3 divisions again. When Anne and Joachim had lived with Anne's father Eliud for some 7 years, decided to separate from their parents and settle in a house with land in the neighborhood of Nazareth that had come to them from Joachim's parents. Among the 12 tribes of Israel, Joachim was a very wealthy man. He brought his offerings 2-fold to the Lord, but he was stopped by the priest, saying, "It is not permissible for you to bring your offerings first, for you did not produce offspring in Israel." Deeply ashamed, Joachim left the city. In the desert he pitched a tent, saying, "I shall fast and do penance until the Lord deems me worthy." Anne wept to see her husband go. Anne too was praying every day to God. One day, all alone, Anne went into the garden and sat down beneath the laurel tree. Looking towards the heavens, she saw a nest of sparrows in the tree. Tears welled up in her eyes and said, "Even the birds are blessed by God, but the Lord has not heard my prayer." She knelt down and prayed with tears in her eyes to have a child of her own. She pleaded and prayed hard. And behold, an angel of the Lord appeared, saying, "Anne, the Lord God heard your prayer, and you will conceive and give birth, and your offspring shall be spoken of in the whole inhabited world." Anne said, "As the Lord my God lives, if I give birth, whether male or female, I will present it as a gift to the Lord my God, and it shall be ministering servant to him all the days of its life." It was already 40 days since Joachim left the house for prayer and penance. Inspired by God, Joachim finished his penance and returned home. On reaching home, he heard the happy news from his wife Anne and praised the Lord for his blessings. Several days before Mary's birth, Anne had told Joachim that the time was approaching for her to be delivered. She sent messengers to Sepphoris, where her younger sister Maraha lived, to the widow Enu, sister of Elizabeth, in the valley of Zebulun, and her niece Mary Salome at Bethsaida, asking these three women to come to her to assist her. They came and helped her and often sang hymns together in praise of God. Even while working, they were chanting and reciting prayers and hymns. Anne prayed as though in ecstasy. She was narrating all that the Lord had done from Abraham to that day as per his promise, and was thanking the Lord for all his blessings to his people. She spoke of the promise to Sarah of Isaac's birth and said, "The blossoming of Aaron's rod is perfected in me." Anne had a casket containing some relics such as Sarah's hair, Joseph's bone, a cloth piece of Tobias, and a goblet of Abraham, which she had it on an altar. She cherished them with great reverence. When the time came for Anne to give birth, a bright radiance streamed towards her, and nobody could see her at that time. And when it disappeared, the baby girl was born. Anne gave birth to a beautiful baby girl in gratitude to the Lord without any labor pain. The Blessed Virgin Mary was preserved from original sin from the very moment of her conception and persevered throughout her life without personal sin. The women stood up and received the newborn child in their arms with great astonishment. They shed tears of joy. They all joined in a hymn of praise, and Anne lifted her child up on high as though making an offering. On the 8th day, the child was named Mary. Mary was born in Nazareth, a tiny Galilean town of about 1,600 people, during the reign of Herod the Great, a violent puppet king propped up by Roman military might. Nazareth was of little consequence for most Jews. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? They believed nothing good can come out of Nazareth, because nothing is mentioned about Nazareth in the Hebrew scriptures. Also in the Talmud, a book containing Jewish sayings, ideas, and stories. When Mary was 3 years old and was weaned from the breast, her parents brought her with gifts to the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. When they had made their offering, Joachim and Anne left the child with other virgins in the temple and returned to their home. Mary remained in the temple of Jerusalem as a consecrated virgin with other virgins in the temple under the care of pious matrons. Mary's presentation in the temple draws parallels to that of the prophet Samuel, whose mother Hannah, like Anne, was also thought to be barren, and who offered her child as a gift to God at Shiloh. Since Mary was born in Judaism, she experienced the Hebrew scriptures both in her prayer and her mode of life. Mary's education as a girl included listening to the readings of the Torah and the prophets. The Torah is the compilation of the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, namely the books of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Mary spoke Aramaic with a Galilean accent. Mary was well acquainted with the scriptures, for we see many biblical echoes in the Magnificat, the beautiful words that arose spontaneously from her heart about the joy of being the mother of the Messiah. Her father, Joachim, died when Mary was 6 years old. In the temple, she was assigned to wash, as soon as they are strong enough, the blood stained garments of the priests and other rough woolen clothes. This is hard work and often means bloody hands. Mary's teacher and nurse in the temple was called Naomi. She was a sister of Lazarus' mother and was 50 years old. She and the other temple women belonged to the Essenes. Mary learned from her how to knit and helped her when she washed the blood of the sacrifices from the vessels and instruments, or when she cut up and prepared certain parts of the flesh for the temple women and priests, for this formed part of their food. Later on, Mary took a still more active part in these duties. She cleaned, washed, weaved, knitted fabrics, and also learned to do embroidery and other forms of decoration on carpets and vestments for use in the altar, tables, etc. of the temple. She washed the clothes and cleansed the pots and pans. They had little cells from which they could see into the temple, and here they prayed and meditated. When Zechariah did his service in the temple, he used to visit her, and Simeon was also acquainted with her. Mary was very interested in her wool work, so that she in her tender years could do all that old women were not able to do. From the morning 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. she remained in prayer. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. she was occupied with her work, besides participating in the temple services. She always found time for prayer and meditation. Mary's devotions consisted of an unceasing longing for redemption and a perpetual state of inner prayer. In the stillness of the night, she rose from her bed and prayed to God. These prayers she usually offered for those who had asked her prayers, or for those who are suffering sickness in the temple, for those who were living with her. They experienced many miracles on Mary's prayers. The Jews looked for a Messiah who would liberate them from the oppressive rule of Caesar. Mary notes the injustice of the world around her in her Magnificat when she recalls God's promise to throw down the rulers from their thrones and lift up the lowly. As a woman deeply rooted in the Jewish faith, Mary trusted that God heard the cries of his people. Holy Mother Church celebrates the birthday of our Blessed Mother Mary on the 8th of September every year, but rarely is our attention drawn to Our Lady as an infant. Devotion to Maria Bambina helps to fill that void. Reflecting on our Blessed Mother as an infant and child will enrich your love and devotion to her as it did to Saint Padre Pio. The name Mary means lady and also means star of the sea. Just to say her holy name itself is a prayer. When we say her name, we find favor with God and power over the devil. Hail Mary, Hail Mother Mary. Our next post will be on the married life of Mary.
Please do like this video and leave your valuable comments below. And for freshly brewed content, do subscribe our channel and stay tuned. Thank you.